in 1 Corinthians, the 15th chapter, verses 55 through 57. These words are found. O death, where is thy sting? O grave, where is your victory? The sting of death is sin, and the strength of sin is the law. But thanks be to God, which gives us the victory through our Lord Jesus Christ. Amen. Thanks be to God, which gives us the victory through our Lord Jesus Christ. I want to talk tonight about the Super Bowl on Mount Calvary. The Super Bowl on Mount Calvary. Now, I think I ought to tell you, the Super Bowl is one of the most popular sporting events in the world. The Super Bowl, it's a contest between the champions of two conferences. It's what one might call a warfare on what is known as the artificial turf. It's a test of human skill and strategy, speed, strength, courage, and endurance. The Super Bowl brings together physical giants that have succeeded in outdistancing and outplaying all of their foes throughout the season. We can really say, in a sense, that those who make it to the Super Bowl are truly the best in the business. And in professional football, I guess you know only the strong survive and even get a chance to compete in what is known as the Super Bowl. The Super Bowl is kind of the final showdown of who's the best in the business. It's the final showdown. A lot of folk talk a lot of stuff all year. I hear guys talking about this team is going to do that and that team is going to do that. But the Super Bowl is the final showdown to tell who's truly the best in the business. And in a sense, tonight I want to talk about a Super Bowl that happened over 2,000 years ago. The stadium was a hill called Calvary that was located outside of Jerusalem. And it was a contest, my brothers and sisters, between champions, professionals. Now, I'm not talking about no Pittsburgh Steelers, no Indianapolis Colts, or no Chicago Bears, or no Dallas Cowboys, or no Green Bay Packers. I'm not referring to those kind of champions. When I say champions, I'm not referring to no Peyton Mannings and Roger Staubachs and Too Tall Ed Jones and Mean Joe Greens. And I'm not talking about no. When I say between two giants, I'm talking about a contest that was between two champions. Namely, old Mr. Death and the champion of righteousness, Jesus Christ himself. Yes, my brothers and sisters, they had a showdown that began on Friday, went into overtime to early Sunday morning. Now, for a short while, I want to note some of the similarities between our Super Bowl and that first Super Bowl on Calvary. First of all, both contestants have coaches. Mr. Duff's coach is Satan. They work hand in hand. Satan first recruited Death and gave him a chance to play in the Garden of Eden. When our first parents sinned and disobeyed God's command, Death got in the game. And he ran Adam and didn't stop until he had put Adam 6 feet under the turf. So Death is coached by Satan himself. Jesus has a coach, and his father is his coach. They have a very close relationship. Matter of fact, if you really look at it, if you look closely at it, every time a crucial play had to be called, Jesus would always get in touch with his coach. Yes, you see, and I want to tell you, as players in this game of life, we need to stay in touch with our coach. Matter of fact, you remember on the night before this Super Bowl, Jesus had a conference in the Garden of Gethsemane with his Father, which gave him the game plan. And I heard him say the game plan was, when he came out of the conference with his coach, his game plan was, not my will, but thine will be done. That conference with his coach gave him enough strength and enough power in order to play the game. Now, another notable similarity between our Super Bowl and that Super Bowl was, you notice a lot of gambling takes place. I think I ought to tell you, money will be lost tonight. Money will be won. But you know, there's no difference in the first Super Bowl. There was gambling at the first Super Bowl on Calvary. Matter of fact, soldiers were holding a crap game on the sideline, trying to determine who would get the warm-up jacket of Jesus. The Bible said they did cast lots. So there was gambling at the first Super Bowl. But you know, my brothers and sisters, the most notable similarity is that the contestants must have the best record in their conference. Now, Mr. Delph's record, my brothers and sisters, I don't think I need to tell you, with the exception of only Enoch and Elijah, he had an inedible record. Despite money opponents had spent on doctors, medicine, Death won them all. Despite the prayers that were prayed for the sick, the home remedies, Death won them all. He beat all of the patriots. Now, I know many of them gained some good yardage, but he still took them out. Adam ran for 930 years. Noah ran for 950 years. Now, Methuselah, let me tell you, Methuselah was the best open field runner the game has ever known. For Methuselah ran and evaded death for 969 years. But finally, death caught him and took him out like the rest. Now Hezekiah, y'all remember, Hezekiah got a penalty against death, got him called offsides, and got a 15-year extension to his life. But in spite of all of that, death finally took him out. No matter how well they ran, no matter how good their record was, they all done well until meeting Mr. Death. Although Saul killed his 1,000 and David his 10,000, but when death met them, they were stopped in their tracks. And Samson, the strongest man that ever lived, who took the jawbone of an ass and killed a large segment of the Philistines. But when he met up on death, he went down like all the rest. You know, maybe that's why Job asked that question. When he looked at all of those that Mr. Death had tackled and had put out of the game, and they never played again, Job asked the question, if a man die, shall he live again? Well, one of the reasons that they'll play so well is they'll have some loyal teammates. Teamwork. They work hand in hand together. For instance, war. He uses that to conquer many able-bodied young men by masses. Then he uses accident. The accident will come up and take you out the game by surprise. Then he got a veteran that he calls sickness, and sickness can wear a person down with so much pain and so much discomfort until he almost invite death in to come on and take him out of the game. Then there's another assistant death uses as a safety man. You know, one can go through this life and you might sidestep war. You may never get drafted. You may never go into the military. You may never experience a war. One can even go through this life and not have any accidents. You might even get by sickness. I heard some folks that say I ain't never had a sick day in my life. But you still not going to score a touchdown because you see there's a safety man in the secondary whose name is old age. And if the others don't get you, old age will slowly walk you down. Another reason that death is so good is because he's in excellent shape. He's always training around the clock, every second, every minute, every hour, every day. He's always on the field working out. So without a doubt, he had the best record in his conference. Well, now, speaking of phenomenal records, as I look at Jesus, he was no pushover. Matter of fact, he played 3 preseason games with the devil and won all 3 of them. He showed superiority over the forces of nature. You remember that night out on that stormy sea. They were about to drown, and somebody said Jesus is on the ship. Somebody said if he hears somebody need to wake him up. And when they woke him up, he got up, he spoke up, and everything shut up. He showed superiority over the forces of nature. And you know, although Jesus never ever encountered death directly, he let death know in no uncertain terms that he was no pushover by raising Jairus' daughter. All he was saying was, death ain't no pushover. When he raised the widow's son, he was just telling death, I want you to know I ain't no pushover. When he went to the graveside of Lazarus and called Lazarus out that had been dead 4 days and his body had already started deteriorating, all he was doing was letting death know I ain't no pushover. My brothers and sisters, these 2 champions, they set the stage for the first Super Bowl. You know, now I think I ought to tell you the night before the Super Bowl, the contestants are supposed to get plenty of rest. Well, Death's coach saw to it that Jesus didn't have that advantage. When he left out of the conference in the garden with his father, Satan got into an angry mob, and the soldiers arrested him and marched him all night long. They beat him up, they spat on him, they mocked him, and they harassed him in every way possible. Yes, and then early Friday morning, the soldiers put the goalpost on the shoulder of Jesus, and they made him carry it all the way to the stadium. And I know it was a heavy goalpost because it had the sins of the world on it. No wonder that songwriter penned the words, "Must Jesus bear the cross alone, and all the world go free?" Somebody said, no, there's a cross for everyone, and there is a cross for me. Well, the soldiers made him carry it all the way to the stadium, and they made him lie down on the goalpost, and the game began. Well, the ringing of the hammer, of the nails that they nailed in the blessed hands of Jesus, was the whistle for the kickoff for the first Super Bowl. And I think I want to tell you, as soon as that first nail went into the blessed hand of Jesus, death got the ball and started his offensive strategy. When the soldiers picked up the goalpost and put it in the hole, and death saw the blood run from the hand and feet of Jesus, he moved in to finish him off. But my brothers and sisters, you know, every time death got ready to score, Jesus would call timeout. He used the clock. He knew he didn't have much time, so he used the clock in his favor. The first time out, he said, "Father, forgive the noisy cheerleaders. Forgive them, for they know not what they're doing." The next time out, he put death on hold and saved a dying sinner. I heard Jesus look over to that old thief that asked him to remember me. Jesus put death on hold. Said, "Well, it looked like you need salvation, and I'm in the salvation business, and because you got enough faith to look over and ask me, I want you to know today you're going to be with me in paradise." Yes, the next time out, he told John to take his mama, Mary, home with him. And the fourth time out, he needed to have a conference with his coach. But when he looked around, he didn't find and see his coach.